Hi, it's Mike Stevenson. This is video number 7 in the series about Serverless 360 business activity monitoring for Azure integration services. So in this video we're going to have a look at a scenario where we have related transactions. So in this case, let's imagine we have a business process and there's multiple different transactions that can happen to make up that business process. So what we're going to do here is we're going to simulate that scenario in a simplified version. So if we imagine, let's say the business scenario might be order management, so you might have a transaction where orders are sent out, you might have another transaction which is about the payment for an order, and you might have the delivery of an order. Might be 3 different transactions, and the thing that relates the instances of those transactions might be an order number, for example. So here, how we're going to simulate this is I'm going to have a number of logic apps here. So let's pretend logic app number 1 on the top. That's actually just really to trigger the test process. It's not really it's kind of like the simulation of the business scenario. The bits here on the bottom, logic app 2, 3 and 4, are really where the work is. So let's imagine logic app 1 is about shipping an order, logic app 2 is about the delivery of it, and logic app 3 is about delivery, 4 is about the payment of it. And they're each doing different things, they're not necessarily correlated. Now what we're going to do is in logic app 1 I'm going to trigger each of these and I'm going to pass the same order number to each one. And what will happen is each of these logic apps will do their thing, and then in BAM we'll be able to see by the order number, we'll be to see the related transactions together. Now how this is going to work is the individual logic apps will be all able to send their checkpoints. Now in a previous video we showed how you could flow the transaction instance ID between components and how that could let you join up different technical checkpoints within different logic apps to the same business process transaction. What we're going to do here is slightly different. So each logic app has its own transaction, and the thing that's going to let us see these together is the fact that they're all using the same order number, and we'll be able to search, for example, for all the transactions with a given order number. So if we have a quick look at how that's going to work, so over here in Serverless 360 I've got my demo number 7 related transactions, and here you can see I've got transaction 1, transaction 2 and transaction 3. Now what I'm doing in each one, if we have a look quickly at the stages, you can see here I've set a property. So we talked about properties in a previous video. An order number comes from a message header, and I'm going to be able to promote that property. I've set it as a global property as well, so it's easy for people to work with. And you can see on each of these transactions, if we have a quick look, you can see each of them is all using an order number property. Now in each transaction the order number could come from different places. So for example here I've set it as a body. If you add properties you can have, it could be an XPath, a JSON, constant value, and there's a number of different ways properties can get set. And actually what's really cool is you can even set properties at runtime without changing the code, which is something we'll discuss another time. But the key thing here is I've got these different transactions. Now if I go over to have a look at my logic app, so here's my what I've called the process controller. So this is the thing over the top that's basically, so I'm going to receive a message with an order number, and all it's going to do is just trigger each of these logic apps. So these child logic apps, and just pass the order number into each of them, and they can go doing their own thing. Now if we have a quick look at the individual logic apps, so if we just go back for a second, so you can see here if we pick this one here is going to just be one of the processes. So I think this was transaction 1, and all I'm going to do in transaction 1 is I'm going to just do a start transaction. So we're going to pass in the business process, transaction, stage, and then we're going to do another checkpoint at the end, and that'll be the 2 steps in that process. Now in the real world there'd be a load of other shapes in here doing all the things that this logic app needed to do, but today we're just looking specifically at the BAM bits. So if we have a look at the second logic app, so the second child one called by the process controller, you'll see here it's basically the same logic app. The key difference is when we start the transaction, it's the same business process, but this time I'm going to call transaction 2, and that means each of these child logic apps is triggering a different transaction to start off. So what I'm going to do, if I just bring in Postman for a second, and we'll create an order with order number 9999, we'll fire that off and we'll let that go and do its thing. So we should see that our process controller logic app should kick off, and it's probably already finished, so we can see it's gone and done its thing. It called each of the children logic apps, and if we go over here we can see now in the composite app, so we're looking at composite app number 7, we go to the BAM section, and you can see here I've got my BAM events. So if we just give those a second so that they appear, we can see these have appeared now and they've completed. So we can see that if we see the order number here 9999, and we can see that we've got in fact, let me see if I can just do a search. So I can do a search, so I can see I can filter for a given order number. So let's pretend the customer is querying their order. I can come in, search for an order number. I can see there's been 3 transactions for that order, so that could, transaction 3 could be shipping, 2 could be payment, whatever. You can see all these in one place, and then you could click the transaction and you could see what happened with that particular scenario, and you can easily troubleshoot these kind of things and see how people are getting on.